was just thinking, in Rocky 1 and 2, we saw that great striving for fame and to reach that pinnacle. This film is very much about staying there, but I get the feeling that in all your films, you're trying to give this great hope and determination that if you want to do something, you really can.
Well, that's something I certainly believe in, because opportunities, the way life is, seem to be on the decrease. And if you listen to your inner voice sometimes, and you really are realistic with yourself and have a dream and a desire, you only have really one opportunity, one lifetime in which to pursue it. So I say at least try, and if you fail, at least you can live with it. There is no mystery. You've solved that mystery. You know you gave it your best shot. So I am a firm believer in just trying it, going for it.
In the fact that you took the germ of the idea of Rocky and you took it to enormous success, I mean, to a certain extent, does Rocky mirror your own life?
Very much. It's kind of autobiographical. Of course, I've never been a professional fighter, but I thought the fighting would be a good symbolic representation of what it's like to fight your way up and fight for your dreams and whatever your wants are in life. So I took that, my particular frustrations as an actor and as a writer, and not being able to be recognized, and put it in the embodiment of a boxer, because everyone can kind of identify with that war that goes on in the ring there. And the main thing is that with each film, after living a couple years and then I do a sequel, I try to incorporate my experiences. And between Rocky 2 and Rocky 3, I kind of went through a variety of personal traumas. So I put them into Rockies, and I felt the third one is, I guess, the most personal of the three.
But when you say that you went into a lot of personal trauma, I mean, in what way? How does success go to your own head?
Well, success is really a double-edged sword. No one ever writes a book on how to deal with success. You know, right away you look at the magazines when I was starting out and say, oh, I'd never do that, I'll never buy these cars, I'll never buy a big mansion, I'll never do this, the parties and whatever. Well, before you know it, you are hosting your own parties on a giant yacht, surrounded by millions of cars and things and everything, and the mistakes are being made, and fear sets in. There's a kind of a sense of animal protectiveness that you don't want to lose what you have. So it brings out some very base qualities in people. Once you've been struggling and you have it, you don't want to lose it. So instead of always looking for what movie to do next because of an artistic reason, you say, I wonder if this is financially sound, and I wonder what this actor is doing, I wonder how much box office this is, and it just becomes jaded. And it began to grab hold of me, and pretty much I allowed myself to be manipulated through managers and agents and lawyers, and I don't blame them. It's my fault, because that's what happens. So right away it was this having to kind of like draw back, find that eye of the tiger again, to go back to the way it was in the beginning when I had nobody, and that's what I try to portray in Rocky 3, just stripping away all the gloss, the cheap flash, and going back, at least psychologically, to the beginning, a oneness with yourself.
Because it's all been very much you from the beginning, and because of the great success, do you find that people virtually regard you as Rocky?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
they call you Rocky.
Oh, yeah. I walked the streets for 29 years, and not one person asked for an autograph. I know it's hard to believe, but it's fact, nobody was really interested. No, not at all. Matter of fact, I'd say, here, do you want an autograph? I'd say, get away from me, we'll have you arrested, you lech. So I never really paid much attention to it. But now with the Rocky thing, I think you have to be really realistic and almost have a little sardonic sense of humor about notoriety and achieving a certain recognition. That people, when they rush up, they are looking at the character. Sylvester Stallone just happens to be a name in the wallet, but the person, the persona, is the image that is created through the media. Like, for example, I've been to the White House 3 times, and every time I go to the White House, all 3 presidents had, hi, Rock, how are you? What's happening? When are you fighting again? I said, this man is running the country? I can't believe this.
Do people also come up and sort of try and prove to themselves how tough you really are and try and take you on?
Mostly women.
Oh, really?
I don't know why. I don't know. Have we been holding you back so long that you get that opportunity, get a beer in them, they take that?
How?
Oh, all the time. I mean, if women were really trained to box, we'd be in big trouble.
You think so?
Oh, I mean, just about in every species, the female is the hunter, isn't it? And we're the hunted.
I'm not committing myself at all in this.
I'm ready, you're not going to, okay. Don't go into training, please.
But I noticed, for example, that you have a couple of what I would call fairly big lads traveling around with you all the time. To a certain extent,
Those are my
do you
sisters.
Your sisters. Do you get trapped
Tony
in this
and
kind of
Dino,
thing,
my sisters.
I hope I don't see them outside afterwards, I'll tell you.
No, it was great. It was in the newspaper the other day. They said Sylvester Stallone was seen running out of a disco with 2 young nubiles. If those are young nubiles, they were, God, the human race is in a sorry condition. 2 young, giant gorilla nubiles, yes. So no, what happens is, because people sometimes can't differentiate between reality, and they look at my face and see a punching bag, they want to go up there and prove something. So what happens is, you really do need a security specialist to stop that. I didn't have it, and it's cost me, many hours of grievances and court costs and $400,000 in lawsuits. So you either walk around with a trash can on your head so no one can hit you, or you just have to play the fame game, and that's all part of it. It's unfortunate, but it just seems, with the tragedies of John Lennon and so on and so forth, America is it's kind of like America is one big giant Western, Everyone's just shooting and running around and things, so.
And as long as you're the sheriff, that's all right.
Yeah. As long as you got a fast horse, you're all right.
Actually, I was just thinking, too, you've suffered a few broken noses through making these films, haven't you?
Yes, it keeps getting bigger with each sequel. That's why if I do Rocky IV, it's going to look like a baton. We, in the fight, what happens, we do choreograph the fight, but there are accidents that happen. And I've broken my nose 3 times, and I've had 6 broken ribs and broken vertebrae, and my knuckle is so far back, it looks like I have 2 wrists. So it happens. Like, for example, in Rocky III, I knew that this would be the last one, and I wanted the last round to be realistic, because I figure, and this is the truth, the audience has become so sophisticated in viewing films that you can't pull quickies on them anymore. You've got to give them something, they go, that's cheap effect, whatever. So I told the fellow who plays my antagonist, I said, look, I want you to really come out and try to bomb me out. He goes, you crazy? I said, yeah. He goes, you crazy? I said, yeah, I know I'm crazy, but do it, okay? And so what happens is, when he's swinging at me, there is this particular look in my eyes called blatant fear. So it's like this, oh God. And I think that really does add to the overall effect of the film, because otherwise it would just be, here's a man trying to kill you, very cool, you go, hey, yeah, all right, well, that's close. No, it can't be cool, you really have to jump into it. So I felt that would add a little bit. Of course, it cost me a lot in rehabilitation.
Well, I would have to tell you, in fact, when it does come to that final round, as it were, I was kind of watching it like this. It was so real to me anyway. But right now, we're going to go to the real world of boxing. And here's a certain moment that I'm quite sure that British boxing fans will remember in the history books for a very long time. Well, a great moment for the fans, and I should imagine a great moment for the man who was responsible for that punch, Henry Cooper. Arguably the big moment, Henry, in your own career?
Oh, I think so, yes, but I think, the majority of the public will remember that punch long before, when I'm gone, let's be honest, yeah. If they're going to remember one thing in your life, they'll remember that punch, I think, for some reason. Though it was a losing fight for me,
Of course, there's a lot of people say if you just managed it a minute earlier, you might have changed the whole course of British boxing.
Yeah, well, perhaps 20 seconds early, If he'd have got up, he got up fairly quickly after that. He got up at the count about 5 or 6, and if I could have gone to him again and perhaps landed another 1 or 2 punches, in them days, I used to throw a pretty good mean left hook. I think I could have caught him with another one and perhaps had him out, you never know. But that's all water under the bridge now, isn't it?
Everybody talks about the killer instinct that a boxer must have, but you're also known, Henry, as Mr. Nice Guy. So, is this killer instinct something that you switch on in the ring?
Well, it is. You must have that. You must have that instinct. It's either you or him. That's true in professional boxing, and that's why basically professional boxers go away, which I used to do, a month before any big fight. I used to go away from home, cut myself off, away from my family, set up training camp somewhere, because you go away and you live a life of a monk. I used to get up at 3:45 in the morning, go on and do road work, do about 7-mile road work. I used to be in bed at 9:30 at night. So the first week of that's a novelty, you enjoy it. The second week it gets a little bit boring, but you'll stand it. But then the third and the fourth week, you're just waiting for the night of the fight to come so that you can get back and do some normal living, because, you know, you get irritable. And my manager and trainer, dear old Jim Wicks, was a great character. He would say something to me in about the third week, and I would snap at him, and I'd want to have a row with him. Now, me, I'm an easygoing fella. And he used to laugh and say, "Oh, lovely, he's coming on, you know, he's getting on form." And that's how he used to tell I was getting near the mark, you know.
You talk a lot in films too, Sylvester, in your 3 Rocky movies, about that killer instinct.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Rocky, we call it the eye of the tiger. It really is. The boxer, I feel, from studying him very closely, is the most special athlete in the world, because he puts his pride and his life and his dignity on the line every time he walks into the ring. And it's been voted by all sports specialists and sports medicine consultants that is the most difficult sport in the world, because of the amount of endurance and the pain and they're considered, believe it or not many people think it, but boxers are considered the most intelligent of all the athletes, because they have to think under the closest and under the highest pressure points, you know, the close proximity. They have to think under, I mean, imagine the pain, whatever, to plan strategies 2 and 3 rounds in advance. So no one gives them that kind of credit. It's a very, very scientific sport. That's why
On the other
I
hand,
enjoy
though, I mean, the British Medical Association just recently have come out wanting to ban the sport altogether. So, I mean, what's your, well, in professional boxing, that is, what's your own reaction,
Well,
Henry?
this is the same old thing that comes up about every 10 years in this country. You get someone, the BMA, or before that it was dear old Dr. Edith Summerskill. Every 10 years when things got a bit quiet, she would bring this thing up about boxing should be banned. No, I think if all these people basically were campaigning in the 20s and the 30s, when there was something like in this country, somewhere in the region of 3,000 professional boxers, where fighters could have, say, 300-400 fights in a career. I mean, boxers needed to be protected then, particularly. I think the border control this day and age, you've got it pretty right, you know, pretty near enough right. I'm not saying that everything's perfect. Boxing is a dangerous sport. Boxers should be examined as often as the border control or doctors think they should be, and that's a good thing. But because something's dangerous, don't let's ban it, because the human being wasn't meant to be a vegetable. I mean, if you're going to talk about banning boxing, you've got to ban motorsports, you've got to ban TT racing, you've got to ban mountain climbing, because they kill themselves much quicker than we do.
Yes, but on the other hand, in boxing, you are setting out to really, you know, lay those punches and in some ways to really hit at weak points. I mean, let's look at part of your fight with Bugner. And I mean, that shows your weakness of the eye. Maybe
well, yeah, but this, see, I mean, this wasn't a particularly hard fight. I mean, this isn't like one of Rocky's fights. Look, we're looking at each other there and smiling at each other. But no, this was a usual fight. But see, unfortunately, I had this little bit of weak skin around the left eye, where you can see there, look, there again. It was a 1/4 inch cut, and it was leaking blood. Now, that looks terrible. But I mean, to be honest, any man who knows when he gets up in the morning and he shaves, you've only got to nick yourself and it's minute, and yet it bleeds terrible. But it's not a bad cut. You wouldn't rush to the doctor. And the same with a cut eye there. I mean, it was only superficial skin breaks, and they were only 1/4 inch. It was nothing too bad at all.
I want to bring Sylvester to the point, because you're actually moving from what you created on film to attempting to create it in reality, in as much that you've taken a boxer under your own wing, and in fact he's fighting an important fight fairly soon.
Yeah, he's the fellow that I used in Paradise Alley. He's a very large fellow. Matter of fact, he's probably the largest heavyweight in the world today. He's 250 pounds, 6'5", but can fight, and he was an all-American athlete. And what I'm trying to do is, a lot of people wrote him off. He was handled by Angela Dundee and whatever, and he still was undefeated, but for some reason didn't move him. And it took me about 3 years to get him out of contractual problems. And what I think is, I believe what happened to me in fantasy perhaps can be transferred into reality. So this is like a real experiment in seeing if this man can be the real life Rocky, because I feel a commitment to these athletes who I feel are so special, and I'm also starting a kind of like a Rocky tournament for underdog fighters who have very good records. There's some guys out there with 60-2 who can't get a fight. See, boxing's strange. Sometimes the better you are, the least people they don't want to fight you.
You scare people.
You just scare them away.
You're too good.
You're too good. They don't want you don't get an opportunity.
Well, I must say the pair of you haven't scared us off tonight. It's really been smashing talking to you both, Henry Cooper and Sylvester Stallone. Thanks a lot for coming to Pebble Mill.